Because, have you heard of the rate of loss of retention that the average learner experiences? Have you heard the figures? Everyone spoke at the same time. What was it? 8. Right, I've heard 80 most of all, and I hear all sorts of different figures. And sometimes I say 80 and people put their hand up, I've heard it 75. Well, I don't care about that, to be honest with you. It's the idea behind it that matters. And intuitively, people tend to realise that it's a hell of a lot. Okay? When you learn something within 24 hours of having learned it, you can forget an awful lot. Again, when you turn that into money invested that companies spend on your learning, up to 80% of it could be going down the pan. And I believe it is. I really believe it is. I see it all the time with people. I'm going to share with you towards the end of today a technique on how to shift information from your short to your long-term memory. All right? And that solves that problem, basically. And I believe that companies should be doing this for everything that you're learning, but many aren't aware of it. And if you want to increase your performance as well, of course, it pays to be in the right line of work, doesn't it? I mean, that goes without saying. The other thing I should say as well about increasing your enjoyment at work, do you appreciate the idea that your enjoyment at work tends to increase when your ability increases? When you get good at doing something, you tend to enjoy it more. So if you're in any way not quite enjoying certain things at work, just get good at them. Make it a go. I'm going to get good at this. How do you get good at it? Well, you learn and then you do, and then you learn some more. And if time's the issue, you learn how to learn fast with accelerated learning. You with me on that? There's effectively 3 things that you need to do running a business, that's you, okay, that will increase the value you provide and increase your rewards and so on. I'll tell you what they are, rather than asking questions for now, just because of the time. The first is you need to increase the value you are providing. So if you can find a way of increasing the size of the value that you are providing, all right, do you appreciate that you are more likely to get higher rewards or higher pay or whatever it is you're after? Give more value. You can do that by adjusting these. You could work longer if you wanted. You know this idea of work smarter, not harder. I'm a big believer in that, of course, so I wouldn't necessarily work longer. You increase the size of your value. You increase the frequency that you provide value. This is what businesses should be aiming to do. So you don't go, oh, I've provided the value once, that's me done. You say, no, I want to do it again. I want to do it again and again and again. I want to keep selling to my customers. And then, of course, the third one is to reach as many people as you can. Provide value to as many people as you can. Now, don't go thinking that that means that you have to be in a position where you are in contact with all those people. It doesn't at all. What it means, of course, that if you get into a more influential position where your work has a direct effect on a lot of people, you're more likely to meet that. Is that all right? I'll tell you, I came up with an example of that only a few months ago. It popped into my mind as I said it. I believe a great example of a company who does that so well is what company? McDonald's. That is a great example. It's not the company that I meant, but it is a great example. Perfect. That is a great example, though. All right, it's meeting all of those 3 regularly, providing the value, increasing the value where they can. All right. For me, it was Google. Think about how Google ticks all 3 of those boxes. It increases the value it gives you because it gives you what you want. Whatever that is, you set the value on that, right? Whatever you are looking for to solve problems in your life, Google will attempt to give you your answers. The frequency thing, well, it's 24/7, isn't it, with Google? That's amazing. You can't beat that in terms of frequency. And, of course, it reaches everyone who's got internet access. So if you ask me, that's probably a pretty good reason as to why Google is where it's at right now. And what I'm suggesting that you try and think about doing in time, because you've always got to think ahead, of course. Don't just stick in the present. Keep thinking ahead, years ahead of you. Is how can I increase my value? How can I increase it to more people? How can I reach more people? And how can I do it more often? And there's plenty of other things that can fit into this, of course. There's all the different things you can learn, all the different things you can do. But I said my work branches into 2 areas. It's the accelerated learning fast, and it's doing the right things in the right ways at the right time. And I'm trying to get my hands on every tool or technique that I can find that can help you to do that, because you chuck that into the system, all right, you optimize, you maximize your time, money and energy available, and you do the right things at the right time and you keep learning, and you increase that and you increase that. And interestingly, a lot of graduate surveys have been done. This is often more appealing to people than that. Yeah? And that's what it's all about. You are continually learning, right? The pace of change is so fast these days that if you are not learning continually, you're just going to fall behind as things change around you. You have to be learning to keep up. All right? And the other one, well, let's call it doing. And what I mean by that is your performance. And that's where my self-management comes in. What I'm saying here is it's your learning and your doing. It's that combination that you just continuously repeat. And you input these, and you can make that as big as you want to make it. Are you with me on that idea? To be able to do anything in your work well, you need to first learn how to do it. You need to learn what actions you've got to take. That's all it comes down to. Just what actions should I be taking, but when should I be taking them? That's where people go wrong. All right, so you've got to do the right things at the right times in the right way. That's really worth writing down. If you want to become an excellent self-manager, that's your goal. Do the right things at the right times in the right way. You ask most people to do that, they make a complete mess of it. Many people are doing the wrong things. If they are doing the right things, they're doing them at the wrong times, or they might be doing them the wrong way. Have you heard of the idea that efficiency is doing things right and effectiveness is doing the right things? And many people are incredibly efficient doing things right, and they're proud of themselves as well. But you've just been working on the wrong things. And you get paid your money and rewards in proportion to that. Have you heard of the phrase where they say, a busy fool? That's what that is. All right, because you run your own business effectively, and your customers are your manager, first and foremost. Your boss, your direct line manager, is your primary customer. And of course, your other customers are your organisation's customers. And your other customers, of course, are your colleagues. Anyone that you have to serve in order to increase your own value to your organisation, you will be rewarded and paid more for doing so. Do you get how this all works? All right, you've got to keep your eyes on all of your customers around you. And of course, yeah, you learn what things to do. All right, in order to do this, I've got to learn this. For me to set up a business, I had to learn how to overcome my phobia of standing up in front of people and talking. I had to. I wouldn't have a business otherwise. So I thought, well, that's what I've got to learn. Who's done this before? Who's learned that before? Okay, I've met people because I networked, I found out. How did you do it? What did you do? And I'm learning I'm just learning a recipe for baking a cake, basically. Do you see what I mean? I'm learning a recipe. I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to do this. And then I've got to do the right things at the right times, put it into action. The problem is I'm going to get some of it wrong. Of course I am. But then that's where that arrow leads me back to learning more, feeding back, learning from what I did, learning from the output that I got, and adjusting. And then it's just that cycle all the way through to getting that. Is that clear with everybody? But I didn't want to just do that for the whole session. I wanted to give this sort of foundation so that it all made sense. And I hope you appreciate that those two things, just used in conjunction with each other, will just increase your performance to your employer. They'll increase your own value, and they'll increase your employment value. And you will have a bigger smile on your face eventually if you do it right. Okay?